Okay, my friends, let's take a look today at your math writing journal. I would like you to find in your notebook, the paper notebook with the spiral edge, I want you to go make sure that you're on a clean page, and we're going to write some things in here today about trade first subtraction. So if you need some time right now to get that journal and find a clean page, you should press pause and then continue playing when you are ready with your notebook and a pencil. So press pause if you need to. Once you have that clean page ready to go, I would like you to write across the top the title of what we are going to be working on today, and that is Trade First, and here's the big long word, subtraction. And again, at any time, if you need more time to get caught up, then you could press pause and then just continue when you're ready. So write that title, Trade First Subtraction, across the top. And if it doesn't quite fit the way mine does, that's okay. Just you can go down to the next line, fit it the best way that you can, but do try to write it neatly so that you can read it later. Okay, and when you are ready to move on, I'm going to put one more word underneath that title, and I'm going to write the word, and that's a parenthesis that it starts with. So I'm putting this word inside a set of parentheses. Sometimes we call trade first subtraction borrowing. That's something that you've probably heard from your family. Your parents have learned it more to be called borrowing than the way everyday math likes to call it trade first. So we have a couple of important rules when we're doing trade first subtraction. And the first rule that I want you to remember about trade first subtraction, and I would like you to write this in your notebook just like I am. So we're going to write rule number 1. This is an important one. Rule number 1. The first thing you've got to remember when you're doing trade first subtraction is to go top to bottom. Okay? So I want you to write this down, and if you need to pause, you can press pause, finish spelling it, and press play when you're ready. Rule number 1, top to bottom. And here's what that means. And I want you to write this with me. We're going to draw a sample problem. 43 minus 14. I want you to write that down. Now you heard me say 43 minus 14. I read this problem top to bottom. I know that this does not say 14 minus 43. So if I read it top to bottom, then I also have to do my subtraction top to bottom. So that means I'm always going to start up at the top and go down. I'm never going to start down at the bottom and go up. Start at the top and go down. So rule number 1, top to bottom. Please make sure that you have written what I have here. We're not going to answer that math problem right yet. When you're ready for rule number 2, I'm going to write that down here. There's another important rule. Rule number 2. Just as important to go top to bottom, we have to always start with ones. I'm going to underline that because that's important. You need to start in the ones place. You never begin subtracting in the tens place or the hundreds place. Always start with the ones. Rule number 2, start with ones. And if you're ready to write another sample problem, I'm going to use the same one. I'm going to write 43 minus 14. And of course we go top to bottom, but where do I start up on top? Always in the ones place. So if you would circle the ones column there. Always start in the ones place. Please make sure that you have written down everything that I have written down. And if you need more time, press pause. All right, now I'm going to draw a big line here because we're done with our rules. Now I'm going to use some space at the bottom of the page to work on some samples. Let's practice a couple together. These are things that you've already learned, things you've already practiced, but let's do a few together. Let's go ahead and start with that 43 minus 14 that we were using as an example. If you would write it again one more time. 43 on top, subtracting 14. Now, point to the number, the digit, where I'm going to begin my math problem. Right here on the 3. That's where I need to start. It's up on top and it's in the ones place. So now what I say to myself is 3 minus 4. Well, saying that out loud should immediately make you think, hey, wait a minute, I have a problem. If there's only 3 somethings, I can't cross out 4 of them, can I? It doesn't work. So as you've learned, when that top digit is smaller than the bottom digit, it's not going to work. So we need some help. We're going to go to the neighbor. We're going to go over to the next column, and in this case it's the tens place, and we're going to say, excuse me, could we trade or borrow one of your tens? So I'm going to cross that 4 off. If I take away one of those tens, there's only going to be 3 left. But now I need to bring that 10 over here to the 3. Well, 10 and 3 more is not 3 anymore. It would be 13. Now we have numbers that we can subtract. 13 minus 4 is 9. And I'm not done though. I still need to go over to this tens column and complete the subtraction. There's no longer a 4, it is now a 3. So I'm using this 3 and taking away 1, which leaves me 2. So the answer to 43 minus 14 is 29. Let's try another one. Something just a little bit larger. You write this, please. 74 minus 38. You noticed again that I started at the top even when I was reading it. 74 minus 38. Take a look, point to the digit where you will be beginning this subtraction problem. Should be on the 4, that's up at the top, and it's in the ones place. 4 minus 8. Does it work? I've only got 4 things. Can I cross out 8 of them? Nope, that's a problem. So I need some help. I'm going to go to the neighbor. You know how when you're at home and maybe you're making a cake but you don't have any eggs, what do? Sometimes you go over to the neighbor. Do you have any eggs? So we're going to go to the neighbor. Excuse me, neighbor. I need some help. Cross out that 7. Now there's only 6 left. We're going to take one of those away. That 10 that we took away, we're going to add it to this 4. So now 10 and 4 is no longer 4, it's actually 14. You probably noticed that all that happens every time is that you just stick a little 1 in front of this digit. So it's a 1, 4 instead of a 4. It's 14 now. Now we can subtract 14 minus 8. Write it if you know it. That's 6. But we're not done. Make sure you finish your tens column. Now you have a 6 minus 3. And that's 3. So your answer here is 36. All right, now I want to show you one more. Let's do one more together. Let's try this guy. You write it, please. 45 minus 13. Point to the digit where you'll begin your subtraction problem. There it is, top, ones place. 5 minus 3. Do you notice anything different on this one? This is not a trade first subtraction problem. If you start with 5, you certainly can take 3 away. So you don't have to do all the hard trade first or borrowing. It's just simply subtracting down. If this one works, then let's do it. 5 minus 3 is 2. 4 minus 1. Great job. Watch me try this one. You don't have to do it unless you want to. You may just watch. Sometimes in subtraction, I'm going to even start with maybe a larger one here. Do something with the hundreds. I just want you to see this because sometimes it could be a surprise. Let's say I'm going to subtract another 3-digit number. Okay. Sometimes something funny happens. I'm going to my ones place up on top. 8 minus 5. Can I do that? Absolutely. 8 minus 5 is 3. So you might be thinking to yourself, oh, that's great. I don't have to do any trade first. But look what happens when you get to the next column. Now we have to do 3 minus 7. Uh-oh, that doesn't work, does it? So when that happens, you just pretend like it's the very first time, just like we were doing before. You just say, okay, that's not going to work. I need to go to my neighbor, cross off that 2, borrow one of those, trade in one of those 10s. Well, this is actually 100 now. That 2 is now a 1, and we add that 1 over to the 3, making that 13. We add that 100 over to this 30. 13 minus 7 is 6, and 1 minus 1 is 0. Now, we don't have to write the 0. If you write it there, that's fine, but we don't ever write a number like that to say 163. We would just leave it blank and have 63. But I just wanted you to see that sometimes in subtraction, especially when there's hundreds, you might begin with no trade first, but then somewhere in the next column or two, it happens where you have to trade first. And you'll run into that more when you start subtracting larger numbers later on, or even in 3rd grade or 4th grade. All right, great practice today with your trade first subtraction. Let's review those rules before you're finished. Rule number 1, read it with me, top to bottom. Rule number 2, read it with me, start with ones. Okay, so if you remember those 2 rules, you will make a lot fewer mistakes when you are doing your subtraction. Great job today. Keep up the hard work.